VPNs, password managers, and encrypted DNS. These are the tools and practices that separate the exposed from the invisible. And in a world where over 5.5 billion accounts were breached in 2024 alone, that's an 8-fold increase from the year before. The difference between the two has never mattered more. This is a complete guide to securing and anonymizing your online privacy and cybersecurity in 2026 and beyond. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. Right now, without any protection, your internet activity looks like a postcard. Anyone who handles it can read the message, see your address, and know exactly who you're talking to. Your internet service provider reads it, hackers on the same Wi-Fi network peek at it, even government agencies scan through it. That analogy comes from the security researchers at Top 10 VPN, and it's the default state of your connection. So where do we begin fixing that? With the single most popular privacy tool on the planet, the VPN. A virtual private network encrypts your internet traffic and routes it through a server in another location. Think of it as sealing that postcard inside an envelope and writing the message in code. Your ISP can no longer see which websites you visit. Public Wi-Fi snoopers get locked out completely, and your real IP address stays hidden from the sites you connect to. But here's what most people get wrong about VPNs. They're not an anonymity tool, they're a privacy tool. There's a critical difference. A VPN shifts your trust from your ISP to the VPN provider. If that provider keeps logs, you've gained nothing. If they're based in a country with aggressive data retention laws, or within the Five Eyes or 14 Eyes intelligence alliances, you might actually be worse off. So what should you look for? A verified, no-logs policy backed by independent audits. Diskless, RAM-only servers that physically cannot store your data. A jurisdiction free from mandatory data retention. Encrypted standards like AES 256 or CHA-CHA-20. A kill switch that cuts your connection if the VPN drops. And modern protocols like WireGuard. Though traditional options like OpenVPN and IKE-v2 remain widely supported for compatibility. Now if you want actual anonymity, not just privacy, you need Tor. The Tor browser routes your traffic through a series of volunteer-operated relays, encrypting it in layers so that no single node knows both where the traffic came from and where it's going. The Tor project is a 501c3 nonprofit, and its browser is the gold standard for anonymous browsing. But Tor isn't bulletproof. High-profile cases like Silk Road were cracked through blockchain analysis, not Tor vulnerabilities. But targeted surveillance can still de-anonymize users under the right conditions. And in April 2025, Tor Browser 14.5 introduced a quiet but significant change that removed OS spoofing. Before that update, every Tor user appeared to be running Windows, creating a uniform fingerprint that made individuals harder to distinguish. Now, Linux and Mac OS users stand out in the crowd. That uniform fingerprint is gone, making browser fingerprinting a real concern for advanced adversaries. Best practices for Tor include never installing additional plugins, which can bypass Tor entirely. This is why you should consider using a live operating system like Tails or Unix. With Tails, there is an option to reset everything by simply unplugging the USB you have Tails OS installed on. And while heavily debated, some say using a VPN on top of Tor is a good idea to mask that you are using it. Next, let's talk about what happens between your device and the websites you visit at the most fundamental level. DNS. Every time you type in a web address, your device sends a DNS query to translate that name into an IP address. By default, those queries travel in plain text. Your ISP can see every single site you visit. Encrypted DNS protocols, specifically DNS over HTTPS and DNS over TLS, change that. They wrap those queries in encryption so that no one between you and the DNS resolver can see or tamper with them. A 2024 study from Mozilla found that users who adopted DNS over HTTPS reduced third-party tracking visibility by more than 90%. Google reports that over 35% of Chrome DNS queries now use encrypted DNS. Firefox enables DNS over HTTPS by default for all US users. And in January 2024, the US government mandated DNS encryption for federal systems through an executive order. Now let's address passwords, because this is where most people's security completely falls apart. 94% of passwords found in breached databases are weak or reused. A 2025 study testing 14.2 million real-world passwords found that 85.6% could be cracked by an AI-powered system in under 10 seconds. NIST's current guidance recommends 15 or more characters randomly generated. CISA recommends at least 16. And the password manager market is shifting fast. Dashlane killed its free plan in September 2025. Bitwarden raised prices for the first time in a decade. 1Password hiked up rates by up to 33%. But a good password manager remains essential because the alternative, reusing passwords across sites, is how breaches cascade. Remember the LastPass disaster? Their 2022 breach led to $438 million in cryptocurrency losses traced directly to stolen vault data. They faced a $24 million class action settlement. That's what happens when a password manager fails, and it's why choosing one with zero-knowledge encryption and a strong security track record matters. But here's where things change. Passkeys are replacing passwords entirely. By the end of 2025, nearly 70% of users had at least one passkey, up from 39% awareness just 2 years prior. Bitwarden reported a 550% jump in daily passkey creation. And in July 2025, NIST released its updated authentication guidelines, mandating that multi-factor authentication must now offer a phishing-resistant option. Passkeys qualify. Why are passkeys better than the traditional option? Because they eliminate the password entirely. There's nothing to phish, nothing to intercept via SIM swap attacks. They're cryptographically bound to the site they were created for, so fake login pages simply don't work. For added security, hardware security keys like YubiKey provide a physical authentication layer that's virtually impossible to compromise remotely. Microsoft's identity team has said openly that they hope passkeys replace passwords almost entirely and soon. For messaging, Signal is the clear leader. End-to-end encrypted by default, open source, collecting zero metadata, and built on rigorously audited cryptographic protocols. It has roughly 70 million monthly active users. Edward Snowden endorses it, and according to the CIA Director John Ratcliffe, as of 2025, Signal is installed by default on the devices of most CIA employees. That's an operational security decision by one of the most security-conscious organizations on the planet. Telegram, by contrast, doesn't encrypt messages end-to-end by default, and the custom encryption protocol it uses has been questioned by cryptographers. WhatsApp uses the Signal protocol for encryption, but Meta's infrastructure, its metadata collection, its backup systems, introduces trust concerns that Signal simply doesn't have. So here's the full picture. Use a reputable, audited VPN to protect your traffic from your ISP and on public networks. Enable encrypted DNS to close the gap most people don't even know exists. Switch to a password manager and start migrating to passkeys wherever they're supported. Use Signal for sensitive communications. And if you need true anonymity, use Tor with a live operating system and understand its limitations. No single tool makes you invisible. A VPN doesn't make you anonymous. Tor doesn't make you invincible. Passkeys don't protect you if your device gets compromised by spyware. CISA has warned that state-backed hacking groups are now targeting the devices of encrypted messaging users directly, bypassing the encryption entirely. Security isn't a product you buy. It's a set of layers you build, each one covering the gaps left by the others. The tools exist. They're better and more accessible than they've ever been. The only question is whether you'll use them. And most importantly, and I stress this the most, they're not perfect. I hope you enjoyed this video, and it would mean the world to me if you liked the video and subscribed. I make videos about everything ranging from cyber criminals to government-backed hackers, all the way into deep web investigations and ethical hacking tutorials. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.